What's going on, everybody? Today is the 20th of November, 2023. Welcome back to this, the 65th edition of the Superstream. My name is Derek, author and webmaster of Gematrinator.com. And I didn't just make the website, but I also do my own decodes. And we've been doing a lot of Superstreams lately, trying to cover a lot of bases in the fascinating world of numerology. And we have several more news stories that we're going to touch on today. On this channel, we take a look at the world through the lens of the ancient mystics and through the tradition of the Kabbalah, which essentially states that language is number. And in fact, the letters, the words that we speak are inseparable from number. Here's a list of the stories we'll be looking at today. If you want to jump to any of the chapters after this is done with the live stream, you should be able to do that down below. Today we'll be talking about the Catholic Church affirming its ban on Freemasonry, a story that has to be published by the numbers, as we'll see. Last week we had the death of Donald Trump's sister, Maryanne Trump Barry, a former New Jersey judge who passed away at the age of 86. And we're going to talk about how her death is linked to the world of sports. That's right. The Pittsburgh Steelers recently won their 666th game, something I talked about in my last video. The very next week, they played the Green Bay Packers 666 weeks after the same two teams met in the Super Bowl back in 2011. And intriguingly, one of the champions of that Super Bowl, A.J. Hawk, suffered an eye injury the next day. And A.J. Hawk, a player for the BuckEyes. So we'll see how that ties in. And then we're going to look at two more celebrity deaths. First, the passing of Dex Carvey, the son of Dana Carvey. We're going to look at how that ties into Saturday Night Live, which is what Dana's best known for. And then we'll also look at the death of former NFL player Devon Wylie, a player who spent some short time with the Chiefs and Titans, who passed away due to an unknown cause. And once again, we look at the language of Gematria very closely on this channel and talk about how it syncs up with certain dates of events in our world. The language of Gematria starts out with the alphabetic order, the most simple cipher, where every letter is numbered 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet. The reduction or Pythagorean method is one that's familiar to many, as here we have the single-digit cipher. Every double-digit number in ordinal is reduced using the rules of numerology to produce this reduction method. Of course, these ciphers can be reversed to produce complementary ciphers, but we'll also be looking at the extended methods of Gematria. Ancient Hebrew and Greek Gematria ciphers used this numeric structure, 0 through 9, 10 through 90, and 100 through 900. And we won't just look at the English alphabetic order, but we'll also look at Latin, or Agrippa's key, which uses the ancient classical Latin alphabetic order and puts the more modern English characters at the end. So to kick things off today, we're going to talk about this news story about Pope Francis confirming the ban on Catholics becoming Freemasons. Now, this is an ironic thing for Pope Francis to be saying, as he's the first pope to be a Jesuit, at least publicly. And the Jesuit order is a formation within the Catholic Church that is steeped in a tradition of secrecy. And there's a lot of speculation about its ties to groups like Freemasonry. Freemasonry, the modern version anyway, formed back in the year 1717 on June 24th. Meanwhile, the Jesuits have been around for even longer. Since 1540 is when they were first recognized. So we're going to take a look at how this story is completely coded by the numbers, as this was published on November 15th, which was a very intriguing day. Now, every date on the calendar has a small set of numbers that we refer to as date numerology. And you'll see that this year, November 15th, had what we call a life lesson number of 33. And this is, of course, very important, because when it comes to Freemasonry, many people believe that the highest degree is the 33rd degree. And of course, real Masonry has higher degrees, at least certain sects do, but in this case, we look at the gematria of the word Masonry and find that in the standard reduction method, Masonry conveniently sums to 33. In the reverse reduction method, where we begin with Z and travel backwards to A, notice how Masonry has a value of 39. Now, this is relevant because measuring from the date that Francis became the Pope back in 2013 to the date of this news story was exactly 3,900 days. But there's another important thing about this date range, as we'll see. For enthusiast members and up on the website, you also have access to the lunar counts. And if you look at the number of lunar phases it had been since Francis became the Pope, it was exactly 132 lunar phases. In the standard alphabetic order, the phrase Catholic Church sums to 132. So how ideal that we get a story linking the Catholic Church to Masonry on this date. In fact, the phrase Roman Catholic, also with this 132 value in the alphabetic order. If we instead use the reduction cipher, I want you to see how Catholic Church has a value of 69. Furthermore, in the Latin method of Gematria, when you write out the Catholic Church, we also get a value of 609. So not only did this date have numerology of 33, but it also had what I call primary numerology of 69. Adding all the digits in the date together as you would say them out loud, 11 plus 15 plus 20 plus 23 yields a 69. 69 also a relevant number to the Jesuits, as in the standard reduction method, the Jesuit order gives us a value of 69. The word order on its own in that same cipher also sums to 33, much like the word Masonry, a society which is steeped in a tradition of secrecy. All 33. November 15th falls a span of 33 days before Pope Francis's December 17th birthday. Freemasonry was founded on June 24th, which is intriguingly 3 months and 3 days before September 27th. Not only did this date have numerology of 33, but we also see numerology of 15, which with each individual digit added together. Well, in numerology, zeros are often ignored. So the phrase Masonry, summing to 105 in ordinal, can also represent the number 15. Also, the Latin name of the Catholic Church, Ecclesia Catholica, 330 and 105 in the reverse ciphers of Gematria. So certainly it's no mistake that November 15th was selected for this news article. But of course there's a little more, because November 15th is also the 319th day on the Gregorian calendar. In the Latin cipher of Gematria, the word Freemasonic gives us a value of 319. There's another cipher I often talk about on this channel called Satanic Gematria. And this is called as such because the phrase Satanic Gematria sums to 666. You'll see this cipher begins on 36 and ends on 61, with both have connections to the number 666. Well, in the Satanic cipher, the word Masonic also sums to 319. Again, published on the 319th day of the year. Measuring from November 15th to the next anniversary of Freemasonry on June 24th is a span of 223 days. Well, in Latin Gematria, the word Masonic on its own sums to 223. Of course, here we are in the year 2023. In another cipher based on the alphabetic order, called capitals mixed, where we still move A through Z in the alphabet, but mix in small letters with the capitals, You'll notice that the word Catholicism also sums to 223. Masonic also with a 115, similar to the November 15th date. Finally, let's look at how this syncs up with Pope Francis. As this news story was published 119 days before the anniversary of Francis becoming the Pope on March 13th. In the reverse alphabetic order, both Francis and Vatican sum to 119. And when Francis took over the Vatican as Pope, he was 1,019 sidereal months old, or lunar orbits in relation to the stars. A sidereal month is a little more than 2 days shorter than a synodic month, which is a lunar phase measuring from new moon to new moon. Lunar counts very important in this study as well. As far as this 119 number, in Latin, ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry sums to 1911. And this, of course, reminds us of the date, 9/11, when the Twin Towers were destroyed. Masonry, an institution with twin pillars. Last week was 266 months after the 9/11 attacks, and it was also 22 years and 66 days after the attacks. That stands out because Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. And again, he used to be a member of the Jesuit order. And the Jesuits' motto, Jesus Hominum Salvator, which stands for essentially Jesus H. Christ, Jesus, Savior of man. This gives us a reverse value of 266. And astronomically, that's an important number as well, since for most of last century, the Milky Way sat at 266 degrees of the ecliptic in the sky. So, a secret language, but anyone with eyes to see can quickly realize very quickly that this is relevant. And the secret societies that often have influence over powerful establishments in this world are constantly exercising this knowledge, unbeknownst to the blind public below them. So let's talk about how this type of knowledge manifests in the real world, as the sister of Donald Trump passed away at the ripe age of 86 last week. Maryanne Trump Barry. And here's a glance at her Wikipedia page. Originally appointed as a New Jersey judge by Ronald Reagan and moved up the ranks by Bill Clinton. Actually held the role till 2019, but now passing away at the age of 86. So what we're going to look at is how this syncs up to her brother, Donald Trump, who was the 45th president and is, of course, running to become the 47th president as well. But a surprising twist on this decode is we're going to talk about how this connects to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, again, I talked about in my video last week at length, as the Pittsburgh Steelers recently won their 666th NFL game. So we'll dive a little bit into that riddle as well. In the standard base methods of Gematria, the name Maryanne Trump Barry is a mirror sum. So what we mean by this is that it has the same value in both ordinal and reverse. Maryanne Trump Barry sums to 243 both ways. This is an uncommon characteristic shared by the NFL team Pittsburgh Steelers, which also sums to 243 ordinal and reverse. The longtime head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers is Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin's full name gives us a crafty 322 in reverse, a number that's been super important this year. We'll talk about this a lot. But if you measure from the birthday of Mike Tomlin, March 15th, to the death of Maryanne Trump Barry, you actually get 243 days. And again, Maryanne is the sister of the 45th president, a phrase which also has ordinal gematria of 243. So we can also touch on this post, which we probably should, between the Steelers and Packers. Now, the Steelers and Packers played in one of the most numerically intriguing Super Bowls of all time, when the Packers collected their 13th championship in Dallas. Dallas, a city which has Gematria of 13. You know, the coach of the Packers when they won this Super Bowl, Mike McCarthy, whose initials are MM, like 1313, he was born a span of 13 days before the JFK assassination in Dallas. So we'll get to that more in a little bit, but first I want to look at Maryanne Trump Barry's birthday, April 5th of 37. This is really interesting because April 5th is written 4/5, and her brother would go on to become the 45th United States president. But she was also born in the year 37. And the Pittsburgh Steelers just played their 37th all-time game against the Packers the day before she died. Now remember, the Super Bowl that the Packers beat the Steelers in was Super Bowl 45, right? So this connects to Donald Trump. Now, the night before Donald Trump was elected, we had a Monday Night Football game between the Bills and Seahawks. And notice how this game ended with a 31-25 score. 31-25 was also the final score of Super Bowl 45. Not only did this Bills-Seahawks game from 2016 have the same referee, Walt Anderson, who officiated Super Bowl 45, but this game also ended with 45 points at halftime. The Steelers were founded by Art Rooney, a man who passed away back in the late 80s. Notice how Art Rooney was 45 years older than the 45th President Trump. In fact, their birthdays are separated by 138 days. And in ordinal, the name Donald Trump equals 138. Maryanne died 11 days after the Steelers won their 666th all-time game. And think about how her brother, President Trump, is very coded with 666. He always flashes the 666 sign with his hands. And his name has the same reduction gematria as 666. Well, the number 11 has gematria of 775. And when Maryanne died, Donald Trump was exactly 77 years and 5 months old. The day before her death, the Steelers defeated the Packers and their quarterback, Jordan Love. And notice how the names Jordan and Love both have gematria of 775. Back in 2017, a few months after Donald Trump took office, he gave us this bizarre tweet where, I don't know how to say this, Kofifi or something like that, right? A lot of you guys probably remember this. Well, the word Kofifi equals 775. And that tweet was made almost exactly 77 and a half months before his sister died. 45th president, also with 775 gematria, using prime numbers. So, this is all about the number 666, as we'll dive into in a little bit. An important thing to understand about 666 is how connected this number is to 33. When you write 33 out in gematria, it sums to 66 and 60. Furthermore, in ordinal, it matches 666 and triple sixes. Art Rooney II, who was the son of the Steelers founder and current owner of the franchise, was born exactly 33 weeks after his father's birthday. And the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise was founded in the year 33, July 8th of 33. Well, check this out. Maryanne Trump Barry died exactly 33,000 days after the founding of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was also 3 months and 3 days after the anniversary of the Packers' founding. 33 is a number of ritual human sacrifice, as the number has the same value as the phrase 895. On top of that, 33 also has matching 148 gematria with ritual sacrifice. Maryanne Trump died a span of 148 days before the next Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Her death was also a span of 14 months and 8 days before Inauguration Day, when her mother or her brother may take office again. And in ordinal, Donald J. Trump sums to 148. The current owner of the Steelers, Art Rooney II, his name also sums to 148. And Inauguration Day falls 148 days after his father, Art Rooney's death, or anniversary of it. The name Maryanne Trump sums to 172. And this is also very important, as the Pittsburgh Steelers recently defeated the Packers to give themselves a 17-20 record against Green Bay. And we'll revisit this post in a little bit. But I just want to point this out. The Steelers won against Green Bay the day before Maryanne died, which means they now have a 17-20 record against Green Bay. And the two franchises, the Packers and Steelers, they were born exactly 172 lunar phases apart. And this score ended 19-23. Well, 1923 is the year that the Brown lunation number began, when we started counting lunar phases. So this is all super significant. And now we see this with Maryanne Trump as her name, also with this 172. So if you measure from the founding date of the Pittsburgh Steelers to the birthday of Maryanne Trump Barry, you find that she was born exactly 50 sidereal months after the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in reduction, both Pittsburgh and Steelers sums to 50. Even the owner of the Steelers, Art Rooney, sums to 50. Her brother Donald was the president of America with 50 states. Donald and America both 50. And look how old Donald Trump was when his sister died. Exactly 929 months. In Latin, United States of America sums to 929. And another reason that stood out is because Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett, on the date of this game over the Packers, he was 9,290 days old, syncing up with this USA riddle. For the record, 929 is a prime number, divisible only by 1 and itself. It's the 158th prime, and 45th president sums to 1,158. Don't forget, 158, also an important number to Freemasonry, one of the secretive organizations we just discussed. Another thing we're going to be poking at as we go through this video is the big Yale anniversary. For those who are a little bit new to my work, we've been talking about Yale University and Skull and Bones all year. Yale is home to the Skull and Bones Secret Society, and they turned 322 years old in October. Of course, here we are in the year 2023, and in ordinal, skull and crossbones equals 223, the inverse of their 322 on the emblem. So notice how Barry died 35 days after Skull and Bones' anniversary. Well, the name Barry sums to 35. The 35th prime number is 149. Not only does Art Rooney II, the current Steelers owner, have this 149 gematria, but Skull and Bones sums to 149 in that same cipher. As far as the 223 for Skull and Crossbones, these numbers are connected because 1409 is the 223rd prime number, right? So you have a 149-223 link. The Green Bay Packers were founded on the 223rd day of the year. That's the 48th prime number. Maryanne Trump dead on the date leaving 48 days in the year. Her brother Donald Trump has matching 48 gematria with 666. But let's bring this full circle because this is super, super synced up with Steelers owner Art Rooney II. Check this out. Maryanne Trump died a span of 223 days after her birthday, a number which we just decoded here. But she was 86 years old at passing. 86, a lot like the Latin gematria of the name Art Rooney, which sums to 806. And if you measure from the birthday of Maryanne Trump Barry to the birthday of Art Rooney II, who I didn't even mention was born on 14/9, which matches his gematria, they were born exactly 806 weeks apart. Art II was also born a span of 163 days after her birthday. And in the same cipher, Maryanne Trump Barry equals 1630. Finally, the name Art Rooney II equals 824. And Art Rooney II was 854 months old exactly when Maryanne died. Now, I know that's not the same number, but if you reflect the number 5 in a mirror, you do end up with a 2. So on top of these connections, that's pretty powerful stuff. So let's talk more about this big Steelers-Packers game. Now, once again, the Steelers entered this game with a total of 666 wins in franchise history. Their game against Green Bay was exactly 666 weeks after the same two teams played in the Super Bowl. On the date of the game, the Steelers were 32,999 days old, which has an upside-down 666. And perhaps the most notable event of this game was the very last play when Jordan Love threw an interception, which ended the game, but Steelers safety Damontae Kazee, instead of just simply taking a knee to end the game, he tried running the ball back, and he got hit out of bounds into one of his coaches, which caused a little bit of a fracas. Now, as it turns out, this brawl at the end of the game was 100% a nod to this 666 alignment. The two players involved were Damontae Kazee and Zach Tom of the Packers. When you add their two names using prime numbers, you get a value of 666. Primes is another cipher based in the alphabetic order. It's actually part of one of the Hebrew base 10 methods, where only prime numbers are applied to the alphabetic order. You'll also notice that 666 has matching gematria with both players' names, but what I want to talk about is how this is connected to the Star-Spangled Banner. That's right, our national anthem. Now, on my YouTube channel, you'll see my most recent uploaded video, not the live stream, but the videos part. To kick off this year, I talked about a major Star-Spangled Banner riddle with the Green Bay Packers. You see the American flag here. This was focused on the collapse of Damar Hamlin, but there was a lot to say about the Star-Spangled Banner, a theme I've been following all year. Because in Gematria, the Star-Spangled Banner equals 223. A lot like our current year. Well, in Jewish Gematria, or Latin as we now call it, Star-Spangled Banner sums to 666. Now, if you measure from the date that the Star-Spangled Banner officially became the national anthem, which was on March 3rd of 1931. Right there, March 3rd of 1931. This game was played 1,112 months later, and that matches the date, November 12th, or 11/12, when it was played. The game was also 112 days before March 3rd, the next anniversary of the anthem. The name Zachary Miscom Tom, the player who knocked Kazee out of bounds, notice how his name sums to 2,083 with trigonal numbers. 666 also sums to 2,083. Just like the moon sums to 283. And never forget that 666 is a number that's especially connected to the moon. I actually have a whole PowerPoint thing on this. If you want to check the link in the post, you'll find more. As I mentioned earlier, the game ended 1923. This is a nod to the Brown lunation number. The two franchises founded exactly 172 lunar phases apart, and now the Steelers are 17-20 against Green Bay all time. Using Fibonacci numbers, which is another one of these mathematical ciphers we're peeking at here in this post, the moon sums to 793. And that's interesting because the Packers entered and left this game with 793 wins in franchise history. They were trying for their 794th win, which is the prime number value of Pittsburgh Steelers, 794. In Hebrew, the moon sums to 223. So does the name KZ in Satanic. Again, the Star-Spangled Banner 223, the 48th prime. The Latin and Indian names for the moon, Luna and Soma, both summing to 48. And check out the names KZ and Tom. Both of these players' last name has Gematria of 48. Now, when we're talking about the moon, it takes the 12-month lunar calendar 33 years to fall back in sync with the 365-day solar calendar. And this is an important concept with the moon, the number 33, right? That's why it ties into the number 666 so well. Well, when the Packers and Steelers met in the Super Bowl in 2011, that was their 33rd all-time meeting between the two franchises. And this week's game, on November 12th, was played exactly 33,000 days after the founding of the Steelers. Remember, Maryanne Trump, also dead the next day, 33,000 exactly. And if you're curious about how this works, how two different days can be the same number of days away from a certain date, here we see that from July 8th, 1933 to November 12th is 32,999 days, but that's not including the end date. If you include the end date, you get 33,000 days. So the date that Maryanne died, the 13th, that's 33,000 without the end date. So that's how we're able to get the 33 both ways. Damontae Kazee was born on the 156th day of the year, which is the value of both 33 and 666. Furthermore, his birthday also had numerology of 33. And if you measure from the birthday of Zach Tom to the birthday of Damontae Kazee, you get exactly a span of 303 weeks. The name Tom equals 33. Tom was born in the year 1999. Well, 1999 is the 303rd prime number. This fight that he got in was exactly 33 weeks after his birthday. And remember, the Star-Spangled Banner was adopted as the national anthem on March 3rd, or 3-3. Damontae Kazee was born a span of 3 months and 3 days after March 3rd, whereas Zach Tom was born a span of 3 weeks and 3 days after March 3rd. This brings us to President Herbert Hoover, who is the man who signed the law that made the national anthem official. And he's actually very relevant because the day he died is the same day that our current Vice President Kamala Harris was born, October 20th of 1964. Herbert Hoover grew up in Oregon, which is the 33rd state, and when you abbreviate Oregon, it sums to 33, OR. Hoover's last full day as president was March 3rd of 33, or 3-3 of 33. And if you measure from the date that the national anthem became official, March 3rd, to the date of his death, you get exactly 33 years and 33 weeks. The Packers-Steelers game was played a span of 3 weeks and 3 days after the anniversary of his death. Damontae Kazee was born 3 months and 30 days after the anniversary of the Super Bowl these two teams played in. And when you add their names together, you even get the same gematria as 33. So this is what we call a 33 parade. You know, this is so far removed from a random coincidence, it's actually hilarious. And, you know, it's unfortunate that people could see this and not think this is fascinating or interesting. I mean, there's always something deeper going on to what we see in the world, and this is the best, most clear window to see it. So with all this 33 talk, let's talk about the eclipse code, because the word eclipse equals 33, and 33 equals 148 in Latin. Well, this game was played 148 days before the next great American eclipse over the United States. If you include the end date, it was 149 days before that eclipse. And the number 66 equals 149. Now, I don't want to throw too many numbers at you, but think about 66 as the first multiple of 33. And when you write out 33, it sums to 66. The number 66 is also shorthand for 666. Look no further than the Book of Revelation in the King James or Masonic edition. The Packers-Steelers game was played on a date with primary numerology of 66. And not only did the Steelers get their 6th win in this game, but the Packers also got their 6th loss. In fact, when you look at the 2 Week 6 byes in the NFL, the only two teams to have a Week 6 bye were the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Super Bowl fell 6 weeks and 6 days before Zach Tom's birthday, one of the two players involved in the fight. And Zach Tom was 11 years and 317 days old for the Super Bowl. These are numbers both connected to 66. And this also brings us to the quarterback of the Steelers, who was born on June 6th, or 6-6. His birth year was also 1998, which is 666 times 3, 1998. In fact, Damontae Casey was 261 weeks younger than, or older than, Kenny Pickett, which is the United States of America in ordinal. So there's a couple more alignments between these players, born 21 or 200 and... Oh, I got a frog in my mouth here. The two players were born 2,121 days apart. And on the date of the Super Bowl, Casey was 212 months, 1 day old. And these are digits found in the ordinal value of both players. So, an extremely coded event that popped out of this huge 666 riddle with the Packers and Steelers. But I want you to think about this on another level, because the very next day, one of the champions from that Super Bowl, A.J. Hawk, a longtime linebacker for the Packers, who was a champion of Super Bowl 45. Well, the day after these two teams, this big Packers and Steelers game, A.J. Hawk shows up on the Pat McAfee show with a giant eye patch. And right away, I'm like, wait a minute. This guy played on the Packers in that game against the Steelers, and he played for the Buckeyes in college. So now we get this former Buckeye player showing up with an eye injury the very next day. What are the odds of this? So let's talk about how this is synced up. Once again, Star Spangled Banner has this 666 value. In Latin Gematria, the phrase 666 sums to 1197. A.J. Hawk's alma mater is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And at the time of his eye injury, which was reportedly caused by his son, just a innocent injury there at home. At the time that happened, Ohio State had just played their 1197th game in school history. And this is using the adjusted NCAA record, the official record there. And Ohio State University was founded 666 months After the Star-Spangled Banner was written, remember Francis Scott Key during the War of 1812 wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, and Ohio State was founded 666 months later. Now, in the reverse alphabetic order, the Star-Spangled Banner equals 344, and this was a number that was in Pat McAfee's age. Pat McAfee, born in 1987, was 13,344 days old. Ohio State and Ohio State University both equal 112, and A.J. Hawk had his injury. He showed up on the show the next day, 112 days before the anniversary of the Star-Spangled Banner. It was also 131 days before the anniversary of Ohio State, and Ohio State sums to 131 in reverse. So does his son's name, Axel Hawk. This is the son whose thumb caused the eye injury. This all happened 131 days after Independence Day as well. Finally, check out AJ's age on the date of the Packers-Steelers game. 14,555 days old. He was also 55 days before his birthday. 55 is the ordinal value of OSU, his alma mater. And of course, the digit 5 is important to Aaron James Hawk. Aaron James Hawk sums to 50 in reduction. So does Ohio State. And A.J. Hawk, appropriately, wore number 50 for his entire career in Green Bay. Now, when he went to the Falcons, he wore number 54. And in ordinal, A.J. Hawk equals 54. And his injury on the 13th fell 54 days before his birthday. A.J. was born 19,303 days after the Star-Spangled Banner became official. Remember, Herbert Hoover was the president until 1933. Meanwhile, Pat McAfee, notice how he was born 117 days after AJ's birthday. Ohio, Buckeye, and Buckeyes all summed to 117. And this Packers-Steelers game was 56,117 days after Ohio State's anniversary. So, the question is A.J. Hawk's injury fake? Well, certainly it could be. Someone could be, again, exercising this knowledge out in public, but I always urge caution, remind people that we really do live in some sort of mystical matrix where events pan out by the numbers. And I'm part of that system. All of us decoders are probably part of that system to some degree, especially me since I made the calculator, but who knows? I mean, it's tough to see with an eye patch there, but he's still sporting the patch, so if it is made up, he's very committed. I'll just say that much. But just as a caveat, I never have all the answers on this channel. In fact, some of my answers just give people more questions, but I think these are important questions to ask in relation to the truth about our reality here on planet Earth. All right, so how perfect. 50 people watching live just as I'm done talking about number 50 A.J. Hawk. Next up, we're going to talk about this tragic story involving Dex Carvey, the eldest son of comedian Dana Carvey, who was a mainstay on Saturday Night Live for nearly a decade, back in one of the golden eras of the show when it was actually decent, back in my childhood. And what this decode will focus on is how it's connected to Lorne Michaels. Now, Lorne Michaels is someone I've talked about on multiple occasions in connection to the deaths of former SNL cast members. And this isn't to insinuate Lorne is out there murdering these people, but, if someone is, they're certainly using the numerology of Lorne Michaels to do so. And we'll talk about his birthday and how it connects to the homicide code, numbers of death. Very important to the death of Dex Carvey. And to start this off, I want to look at Dana Carvey's age. Of course, Dana was the actual celebrity of the two. Dex was not a very well-known comedian. On the date that his son died, Dana Carvey was 25,004 days old. Now, he died on the 15th, with news breaking on the 16th. However, news broke very, very late on the 16th, so most people saw this story when I did on the 17th. And November 17th was the birthday of Lorne Michaels, his 79th birthday. And in the alphabetic order, the word murder sums to 79. Using prime numbers, the word murder equals 254. This represents the numbers found in Dana Carvey's age when his son died, 25,004 days. As far as Lorne Michaels being 79 years old when the story broke, eclipse sacrifice also sums to 79 like murder. And we're going to talk about how the death of Dex Carvey is completely synced up with the eclipse code in the United States. Lorne Michaels was born in the year 44, and his birthday, November 17th, is the date that leaves 44 days on the calendar. In prime numbers, Lorne Michaels equals 404, just like the word kill 44 in ordinal. In reverse reduction, the word comedian equals 44. And this is a story about comedian Dex Carvey, whose name also equals 44. Another thing to understand is that this is connected to a satanic ritual that was carried out live on Saturday night back in 2021. And I did several posts on this. I also mentioned this in the death of Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore, another Saturday Night Live comedian who died in 2021. And the story here is that to end SNL's 46th season, gay rapper Lil Nas X took to the stage and carried out this big satanic ritual where he dressed up with the demon wings and bathed the stage in red lights. A very outright ritual. And we're going to talk about how this is connected to this death, right? Now, when that performance occurred, back on May 22nd of 2021, you see it here, Lil Nas X, May 22nd. Of course, the episode ended on May 23rd. But check out how this was the 909th episode. This is important, too. Lil Nas X's performance was 44 days after his birthday. The number 44 sums to 99 and 1512. Lorne Michaels' birth name, Lorne David Lipowitz, sums to 99, 99, and 1512. Now, this connects us to this episode of Saturday Night Live, which was the 909th episode. If you measure from the 909th episode to the death of Dex Carvey, you get a span of 909 days. In fact, Lil Nas X was born in the year 99 on the 99th day of the year. In fact, the 99th prime number is 523. And when his satanic ritual on stage ended, it was May 23rd, or 523. In fact, that episode of Saturday Night Live aired 16,660 days after the first episode of the same series back in 1975. And of course, 99 and 666 all synced up with each other. It's being said this was an accidental drug overdose, which equals 99, a lot like sacrifice with capital letters. Make no mistake about it, people. These powerful folks in media are trying to turn you into a demon worshiper. They want you to be gay like this guy. They want you to go against what God has in store for humanity. And that's going to sound really bad against gay people, but, you know, look, I supported the cause for many, many years. I was a staunch supporter of gay marriage for a long time. And then you see where they started to take it. And, you know, you got to draw a line somewhere. So I'll zip my lips on that because this is a numerology channel, but I think you guys get my drift. So this number, 99, this is also synced up with the moon. The moon sums to both 90 and 99, like an upside-down 666. Now, what's curious about Dex Carvey is that there's no birthday given. All we know is that he was born in 1994. Now, what's interesting about that is that it seems to be the first day of 1994 that this is all synced up with. Or 1991, I'm sorry. Not 94. The first day of 1991. Lil Nas X was born 99 months and 9 days after that date. And check out the gematria of the headline they gave us. If you copy and paste this into the calculator, it sums to 666. Lil Nas X's real name, Montero Hill, that sums to 156, which has matching gematria with 666 and 666s. And on the date Dex Carvey died, Lorne Michaels was exactly 1,056 sidereal months old. Meanwhile, Dana Carvey, on the date of that satanic ritual, was exactly 816 lunar phases old. 816 is the Sumerian gematria of Dex Carvey. Sumerian, an important cipher when we're talking about the number 666, because this is a cipher that multiplies the alphabetic order by 6, the first perfect number and the number that's most closely associated with time. Lil Nas X turned 329 sidereal months old on November 17th when we learned about Dex Carvey. That's like ritual human sacrifice in reverse. And I told you guys we would get some deaths connected to 248 in my last super stream. This was the first week of Brown Lunation 1,248. Human sacrifice equals 248. And Dana Carvey's full name, Dana Thomas Carvey, sums to 248 with capital letters. So let's talk about how this was all synced up to the eclipse code. In reduction gematria, the word sacrifice equals 46, which is the reverse reduction value of Dex Carvey 46. Dex died on the date leaving 46 days in the year. On the first day of 1991, Lorne Michaels was a span of 46 years and 46 days old. And this satanic ritual featuring Lil Nas X, that was the last episode of Saturday Night Live's 46th season. The 46th prime number is 199. And notice how they put this number in the headline right next to 666. 199. On the date of that satanic ritual, Dex Carvey was 11,099 days old. And in gematria, the name Carvey sums to 1199 standard. News of Dex's death broke 199 days before his father Dana's birthday. Dana would have been 69, or will be in June. His son's name Dex equals 609 in that same cipher. In fact, the date Dex died also had numerology of 69, and his death was also 166 days after his dad's birthday. And let's look closer at that birthday. Dana Carvey, born on June 2nd of 55. 62 of 55. These are both sacrifice numbers. Sacrifice has matching 62 gematria with Dana Thomas Carvey. He was born in 55, which is the gematria of sacrifice. And his birth in the year 55 was a span of exactly 550 weeks after Lorne Michaels was born. Notice how Lorne Michaels also has this 62 and 73 gematria, numbers found in sacrifice. The phrase ritual sacrifice sums to 616. Dana Carvey was born 6 months and 16 days after Lorne Michaels' birthday. Dex Carvey also has matching 107 Gematria with ritual sacrifice. The name Carvey is a supermatch in Gematria with the name Jesus. And the New Testament, the story of Jesus, ends in the book of Revelation. The last chapter of Revelation is the 1189th chapter of the Bible. And notice how the name Carvey has this 1189 value, a very biblical number. So Dex equals 609. He died on a date with 69 numerology just before his dad's 69th birthday. These numbers are connected to the eclipse code. Eclipse, eclipse of the sun, and eclipse the sun all sum to 69. Eclipses always occur 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases apart. The word eclipse equals 156 in Hebrew, and eclipse the sun equals 156 in English. Again, Lorne Michaels was exactly 1,056 sidereal months old when Dex died. The Gematria of Montero Hill, 33, 156. New Year's falls 30 weeks and 3 days after Dana Carvey's birthday. And something else about this Lil Nas X performance that was a highlight. Everyone was talking about a wardrobe malfunction that occurred during this set. Sparked a lot of controversy in addition to the devil shit. Well, wardrobe malfunction was a term coined after the Janet Jackson performance back at the Super Bowl in 2004. And check out how old Janet Jackson was when Dex Carvey died. She was exactly 3,000 weeks and 3 days old when he died. And her birthday is also exactly 33 weeks before New Year's. When the satanic ritual ended, that date had 33 numerology. Dex Carvey dead on another date with 33 numerology. Of course, Jesus Christ believed to be 33 years old, crucified in 33 AD. Both crucifixion of Jesus Christ and Lord and Savior Jesus Christ equals 303. Well, if you measure from the annular eclipse that passed over the United States in October to the death of Dex, it was a span of 33 days later. And in the alphabetic order, the name Dex equals 33, just like eclipse in reduction. If you instead measure to the next Great American Total Solar Eclipse, you get a span of 146 days. In the English Kabbalah, solar eclipse equals 146, just like eclipse with capital letters. Dex and Dana Carvey equals 146. So does the last name Michaels. Jesus Christ and 603 both 146. His father, Dana Carvey, also 146 with capital letters. And Dana Carvey was 68 years old when his son died. 68, 146. Again, dead a span of 146 days before the eclipse. Speaking of 146, another Saturday Night Live comic, Trevor Moore, died on the date, leaving 146 days in the year. News of Dex's death broke exactly 119 weeks later, or 2 years, 101 days. These both found in Ritual Human Sacrifice 9/11 and 2/11 Ordinal. Lastly, there is a major skull and bones riddle in this. Now, SNL equals 45, and skull and crossbones equals 223. Well, this satanic ritual happened 45 years and 223 days after SNL's first episode. Skull and Bones is also known as the Brotherhood of Death, and death, killing, murder, all 38 in Gematria. Well, if you measure from the anniversary of Yale University on October 9th to the death of Dex Carvey, you get a span of 38 days. Brotherhood of Death equals 187, which of course connects us to the homicide code, as this is the crime of murder, 187. Well, notice how the 187th prime number is 1117. Also, the number 187 has factors of 11 times 17. This brings us back to Lorne Michaels, who was born on 1117, connected to this 187 code. The satanic ritual on Saturday Night Live happened 187 days after Lorne Michaels. Yale celebrates its anniversary 130 days after Dana Carvey's birthday. That's Skull and Bones in Gematria, Ritual Human Sacrifice 130. But what really stands out is that when his son died, Dana was 3,572 weeks old exactly. And 572 is skull and bones in Latin. Yale is located in New Haven, which sums to 1,019. This is the 171st prime number, and Yale was founded in New Haven in the year 1701. Yale's special 322nd anniversary was exactly 1,710 weeks after Dex Carvey was born. These are the same digits found in Norm Macdonald's birthday, the 17th of October, 1710. Norm was another longtime member of SNL who died back in 2021. And Norm Macdonald died on 14/9. And again, skull and bones equals 149 in Gematria. And I know there's more with Norm connected to the skull and bones. Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry. The Brotherhood of Death has matching 724 Gematria with Number of the Beast. Now that stands out because overdose equals 724. Dana Carvey was born 10 years, 197 days after Lorne Michaels, and Yale's special anniversary was 11,970 days after the first day of 1991. 666 equals 1197. Finally, skull and bones equals 76. When Trevor Moore died, Lorne Michaels was 76 years and 263 days old. Skull and crossbones equals 263 in reverse. Trevor Moore died 2 years and 63 days, or 26 months and 3 days, before Yale turned 322 years old. This brings us to Norman Macdonald, whose name sums to 263. Dex Carvey died 2 years and 63 days after Norm Macdonald. Now, 263 is the 56th prime number. Trevor Moore dead on a 56 date. The name Trevor Moore has a lot of syncs to Yale University. In fact, those same numbers are found in Norman Macdonald as well. Yale University, 83. Like Norman Macdonald, 83 and 61. Skull and Bones, or Skull and Crossbones, rather, also 61. So it really does seem like, anyway, that these SNL characters all getting offed by the numbers somehow. All right, one more story to look at, and then we may touch on some NFL numerology, but in my last Super Stream, I talked about the deaths of 2 NFL players, and I never say this because I don't want to manifest it, but it always seems like it comes in threes, right? And just a couple days later, we found out about the death of former Chiefs and Titans player Devon Wylie, dead at the young age of 35. And I haven't had time to check the news this weekend. I don't know if they released a cause of death, but once again, something else unexpected, suddenly at a young age. Devon Wylie played his college football at Fresno State, and he would be drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. And then he played a few snaps with the Tennessee Titans the next year. But those are the only two teams he played for. Everyone else was a practice squad. So a classical journeyman in the NFL. Devon Wylie died on a date with numerology of 32. Like Fresno, his college equals 32. The NFL team that drafted him, Kansas City and Chiefs, both also sum to 32. And remember, this is an important number to the NFL, which is made up of 32 teams, as NFL has ordinal gematria of 32. It was even the year 2002 when that 32nd team was added. And when you write out National Football League, it equals 220, a sport with 22 guys on the field. Now, I want to talk about another important story that's connected to this, because back in October, just last month, I did a post and this video on the death of Tom Tarasca. Down here, you'll see it. Tom Tarasca was the high school football coach at Arrowhead High School, which is the school I attended at the turn of the century. So some of my friends played for this guy. And he died at the age of 71 in a car crash with an oak tree. And his last name, Tarasca, can be traced back to the word oak. He was 71 years old. Tarasca equals 71. Car crash, 71. He died on Woodfield Court, 71. October 15, 71. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Tom Tarasca was the coach of Arrowhead High School. And the team that drafted Devon Wylie, the Kansas City Chiefs, play at Arrowhead Stadium. Measuring from the death of Tom Tarasca to the news of Devon Wylie's death was a span of 32 days later, which is the number that we pointed out earlier in this post. Now, Tom Tarasca, he was the coach of only one NFL player. This guy, Nick Hayden. He went to Heartland, Wisconsin, went to Arrowhead. Now, there's other NFL players that went to Arrowhead, but none of them played for Coach Tarasca. This is the only one. And I mention this because in my last Super Stream, I talked about the death of a guy named DJ Hayden, right? And these are the deep synchronicities that most Gematria decoders don't pick up on or don't want to talk about. You know, they don't want to talk about the deep, deep things that connect everything else in our world, right? But I digress. Not to throw shade on anyone. Now, the team that plays in Wisconsin, where Arrowhead High School is located, is the Green Bay Packers, right? And Wylie, Devon Wylie, played for the Fresno State Bulldogs. Well, Bulldogs stands out because the current #1 college football team is the Georgia Bulldogs. And the Georgia Bulldogs have virtually the same logo as the Green Bay Packers, right? And now we get the death of Devon Wylie. And isn't it interesting that the Packers currently have a guy named Devontae Wyatt, which is extremely similar to the name Devon Wylie. And Devontae Wyatt played his college ball for Georgia, the Bulldogs, and then he was drafted by the Packers. So he has the G on his helmet for his whole career. Now, Wisconsin and Georgia are linked intricately through the number 44. These are the only two states with 44 gematria. In baseball, Hank Aaron has his number 44 retired in both Wisconsin and Georgia. Devon Wylie was born a span of exactly 440 months after Coach Tom Tarasca. And in satanic gematria, Wisconsin also equals 440, just like this 44. When Tarasca died, it was a span of 44 days after Devon Wylie's birthday. Remember, kill equals 44. Well, in ancient Hebrew, kill also equals 19, and Devon Wylie wore number 19 for the Chiefs in the NFL. By the way, Arrowhead High School, where Coach Tarasca coached, They also have a youth football team named the Chiefs. And that was a team I was going to play for until I went to football practice and realized that, yeah, they just smash each other's heads into one another for practice. That's actually a drill we were doing. Put on a helmet and smash your head into this other guy. And that's where I realized football ain't the sport for me. Anyway, kill also equals 244 in Hebrew, which is the value of 19 in Latin. I bring this up because Wylie equals 1,244. And Wylie was born a span of 244 days after Tom Tarasca's birthday. Tom Tarasca sums to 119 in ordinal, and Tarasca died a span of 10 months and 19 days before Wylie's birthday. The Kansas City Chiefs, who drafted Wylie, had played 1,016 games during the regular season and playoffs when Devon died. So here we have an upside-down 9-11. Whereas the Tennessee Titans, in their first game after Wylie's death, that was their 1,016th game. Wylie died 119 months or 9 years and 11 months after his final NFL game. And not only does Tom Tarasca equal 119, but Arrowhead 119, Arrowhead High School 116, Devon 119, he was a Bulldog 116. Bulldog also equals 35 and 73, and Devon Wylie was 35 years and 73 days old when he died. The word sacrifice has that 73, so does ritual sacrifice. News of Wylie's death was 74 days after his birthday. Just like killing equals 74, but so does his last name, Wylie 74. In reduction, Wylie equals 29, and the 29 connects us to his birthday, the 2nd of September, or 2/9. He was a member of the Bulldogs in college, which sums to 29. His death in relation to Tom Tarasca, which equals 29. And what also stood out is that Devon Wylie was the 107th pick of the draft. We just mentioned this with Dex Carvey, because ritual sacrifice equals 107, but so does Arrowhead High School. Tarasca's death was also 10 months and 18 days before Wylie's birthday. Tarasca, Wisconsin, and Bulldogs all 118. 118 was also Devon Wylie's primary birth numerology, a number we commonly see connected to stories of early death or homicide. 118. Finally, to wrap this up, I noticed how in the obituary they called him Coach T, Thomas Coach T. Tarasca. Well, that stood out because Thomas Coach T. Tarasca has matching gematria with Arrowhead High School, 197 and 316. Tarasca also 316. Devon Wylie died 316 days after January 3rd, which was Tarasca's birthday. These two men were born the 293rd prime number of weeks apart, and then Wylie died 293 days before his birthday. 293 is the 62nd prime, connecting to Thomas Coach T. Tarasca and Wisconsin, also Sacrifice 62. So I can guarantee that no one else would have picked up on a connection between, Wylie and the Packers for this, but again, everything I do on this channel is completely logical. Like, we're looking at language. We're sharing terms and words from one story to the other. And, of course, this is going to stick out to me more than anyone else because, again, I went to this high school. I know the area. They have the Chiefs and the Warhawks, Arrowhead High School, the logo of the Chiefs football team and Arrowhead, very similar to the Chiefs logo. So it's interesting that you get the death of an Arrowhead coach synced up with the death of a Chiefs player who played at Arrowhead the next month. This is undeniable. And when you look at how strong the numbers connect, and also the further synchronicity with this guy, Devonte Wyatt, there's just something magical about this. And The coding runs so deep. It's so good that, I always question people when they say that there's murder every time. Maybe there is, and perhaps it's a little long-winded for me at this point to bring this up again and again, but, Gematria was introduced to us as one thing, and over time I realized that it actually opens the doors to a much, much greater thing, a greater understanding about the world we live in. And as many questions as it seems to bring up, some of these questions I don't believe are meant to be answered by us during our time here. The way I see it is that this is a sign to us that there is an order to the world that we are unaware of, but one that's just fascinating to be a part of. And, yeah, as always, check out the blog if you'd like to see more. My organic matrix section is actually pretty slim, but I do believe that a lot of what I decode in the regular parts of the blog are also organic at this point. It's just too much to bear. The other post I was going to quickly bring up, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but there was another NFL game on Thursday night that, I thought was pretty easy to call if you're using numerology. This all had to do with the death of Ray Lewis's son back in June of this year. Notice how the name Ray Lewis equals 1505 in Latin. The Ravens played the Bengals on Thursday night. Bengals is 155, just like the word killing. Coach John Harbaugh picked up his 155th career win. It was also the Ravens' 155th home win in franchise history, including the playoffs. The Bengals were looking for their 155th road win in the regular season. So they were all sitting on 154, and 154 is ritual sacrifice in ordinal. The Baltimore Ravens were looking for their 251st win, which they picked up. Jim Harbaugh equals 251, just like ritual sacrifice. And remember, Ravens coach John Harbaugh, his brother Jim is currently serving a suspension at Michigan. And on the date of this game, Jim Harbaugh had 113 career wins in college, whereas his brother John Harbaugh equals 113. And the two Harbaugh brothers were born 1 year and 13 weeks apart. So there's definitely more. I urge everyone to check this out, but another easy call. Don't expect an NFL decode predicting a game every week, but occasionally, when there's synchronicity with people who have passed away in connection with the NFL, I think it's definitely clear what's going on there. So, all right, everybody, that's going to do it for this live stream. Thanks to everybody for popping in. Feel free to give it a like, share, subscribe, whatever you do to support your creators. And if you want to make sure more of this keeps coming and that Gematria stays alive, check the links in the description below, as you can support the work either on PayPal or preferably the website, as you will get access to many more decoding tools and powers, the ability to save all your settings and ciphers, a whole bunch of extra features that were lined up last year. So with that, thanks to everybody for watching. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.